A metaphor for Moondrop Starfield II. It feels like you're standing next to the sun with all the heat and energy being generously irradiated onto your face. It feels so strong and powerful that you can see nearly nothing around it. Welcome to Plug's Review, and today we'll be having a tour of the Moondrop Starfield II. The Starfield II is a single dynamic driver IEM at $110. It has a mild V-shaped signature with a bass boost similar to that of the Kato, although sounding more distinct and powerful than the Kato because of the slight recession in the mid-range which reduces masking effect. It is still mid-bass focused but has enough sub-bass to give notes a natural decay. Because of the slight recession at around 400 to 1 kHz, mid-range vocals and instruments sound less graceful and natural compared to Kato, and it is exaggerated even more at the pinna gain region. It has a gain region of around 10 decibels at 1 to 3K, and it maintains its energy past 5K, which gives it a not only shouty but intense presentation, although it is quite good for female vocals. The treble, on the other hand, is not as subdued as the Kato at around 10K, but exhibits a small peak at around 12K to my ears, which gives percussion a glassy texture and reduces tuning coherence. The imaging on this set is surprisingly well presented with almost pinpoint accuracy, and notes do not linger on release with a rather fast transient. Macro dynamics is on the average side, with details sounding a little bit fake because of the unnatural peak in the upper treble. Overall, it is an energetic V-shaped IEM that is slightly out of balance due to extra amount of pinna gain, but still maintaining decent technical performance. With that being said, let's slow down the pace a little bit and discuss the issues and highlights of the Starfield II in depth. So, when I first got the Starfield II, I actually thought that it was better than the Kato, because the Kato always sounds to me like it is lacking a lot of dynamic contrast because of the not so good treble extension and the not so distinct bass boost. And purely from the FR graph, the Starfield II is actually more exciting, so it creates a sense of contrast that is missing on the Kato. And yes, I was right. So after I did a manual sine sweep and EQ'd the Starfield II close to the FR of the Kato, I found out that they were actually quite similar. But you know what? I don't think the deviation from the Kato or the original Starfield was done in a tasteful way, and here's why. So there are ways to make vocals shine a little bit more apart from applying the standard IF neutral tuning. The Teen Hi-Fi T3 Plus also has a very forward vocal presentation, but the key difference between this and the Starfield II is that the gain region is slightly shifted towards the left, so it actually sounds full-bodied and rich instead of being shouty and intense. For the Starfield II, on the other hand, it does not only have intense upper mid-range but also sounds a bit heady because of the combination of the upper mids and the slightly recessed lower mid-range. And this is probably my biggest complaint about the Starfield II's tuning, which is that it is not natural in any form. However, as I said, it is good for female vocals because of the extra presence at 5K, and female vocals don't need a lot of body as male vocals do anyway. But to be honest with you, I would still prefer Kato if I'm listening to female vocals. It is just because I like things as is. Talking about the treble, it does have a peak at around 12K that is audible, but fortunately because of the large amount of upper mids, they kind of mask the presence of this treble peak so that it doesn't sound as peaky as it should be, which is a good thing, but you will still notice the extra glassy percussions that might bring up fake details. And by the way, the peak is not in the upper treble zing territory, so at least it feels like the part of the music rather than manually boosting the treble to sound separated from the track. But all in all, it is still not smooth treble, and although it doesn't bug me a lot, it is not an enjoyable listen. Coming back to the bass, well, the bass is satisfying. It hits hard first of all, and you might be asking like, how can it hit hard when it has the same SPL as the Kato? Well, actually, it is all thanks to the mid-range recession. You know, when the mid-range is not as thick, the bass can kind of emerge more, although unfortunately it is still not perfectly balanced because of the upper mids are way more than the bass. But talking about the quality of the bass, I do like it. It has a solid attack that is not fluffy, and it decays pretty fast, and it also sounds well controlled and there's no bleeding. I do wish it has a little bit more sub-bass to give it a more grand feeling that can balance out the upper mids, but it is what it is, and the bass is decent at this price point. Talking about comparisons, although I've heard it several times, I personally don't own a Dunu Kima, and that's why I kept talking about Kato. But the Kima to me doesn't have upper treble at all, and that's why I wouldn't buy it. The Starfield II, on the other hand, is a completely different flavor with a very energetic presentation. And I don't think these two can be a fair comparison, to be honest. But if you have Kato, do I recommend you buy the Starfield II? Maybe not. The Starfield II is just a more dynamic Kato with less coherent tuning, and if you want that sense of contrast, you can pretty much use EQ to achieve that, and that's what I have tried as well. Also, it is easier to EQ Kato than to EQ Starfield II, in my opinion. So, what is my final thoughts on this IEM? It is certainly not Stellaris level of weirdness, but I can't say I can safely recommend this. Because even for people who love female vocals, this might be a little intense and heady, like I said in the beginning. It's like when you are enveloped by the sun that is 5 times bigger than it actually is, and you can see nothing around that. And now you know what I'm talking about at the beginning. But nonetheless, it is still great to see Moondrop trying out new tuning variations, because the last thing we want to see is when companies try to roll out the exact same tuning just with a different brand sticker on it. So, thank you Moondrop for your effort on making the Starfield 2 available to the market, and thank you all for watching. This is Plug's Review. I'll see you next time.